Hello, thank you for invitation to present my paper on this conference. My name is Andrzej Klimczuk. I come from the Warsaw School of Economics in Poland, and today I want to shortly present you selected findings from our project on socio-economic systems in the post-pandemic world. So it's a project of the book that is co-edited by authors from European and African countries, and it is published on the Frontiers media, so it's in open access. It's available for everyone around the world for free under the frontiers.org research topics 13913, and we focused on this project from beginning of the pandemic in 2020. We started the project in April 2020 with this meaning that this feeling that we have to answer somehow to the pandemic. So at that time we have been in the first lockdown around the world, and we have been thinking how we can help the world after the end of the pandemic, which still not happened. And we decided that we will work on collection of papers from various disciplines that will focus on the vision how the world can look like actually after the pandemic. So we decided to focus on the topics relevant from the design thinking, strategic planning, management, and public policy. And we collected the papers until the end of 2021. So in this project, we collaborated with 10 journals, Frontiers in Sociology, Public Health, Sustainable Cities, Sustainability, Psychology, Education, Built Environment, Applied Mathematics and Statistics, Communication, and Sustainable Food Systems. So that's quite a large scope, but anyway, we decided that this will be the best solution to focus on very interdisciplinary approach, very mixed approach, and to invite scholars from around countries that have different views on how we can respond to the challenges of COVID and what will the world after the COVID look like. So we decided to collect the papers. Here you can see only the selected topics that we have been looking for. So we have been looking, of course, on the topics related to public health and health sector innovations and the challenges that have been exposed by the pandemic. Then we have been also focusing also on the topics of supply chains in the global economy, for example, because during the first lockdowns, basically the transportation and access to food, for example, or logistics was changed. It still have the repercussion even right now. We also tried to look at the comparative side, how different countries are responding to the challenge of COVID-19, and also how these countries are exchanging the best ideas, the policy instruments, the best practices, and how they are learning from the neighboring countries or from around the world, basically. We also focused on the role of various stakeholders, how the governments have been collaborating or at least dialoguing with other actors, like the non-governmental organizations or the private commercial entities, as well as non-formal entities and groups. And we have been also thinking how we can actually evaluate the policies and practices and interventions related to COVID-19 Although we already know that, of course, the pandemic is still ongoing, so it's very hard to imagine the evaluation of something that is not done yet, is not finished yet. So we ended up with collecting the papers at the end of 2020, and during the 2021 we have been reviewing the papers from various authors. So our contributors are coming from three states, such as Australia, Austria, but also from not that developed countries like the Cameroon or Colombia or um, Nepal or Kenya or Lebanon. So it was a very international approach. So we collected the papers from various different approaches from different scientists from different places around the world. And due to the fact that this collection of papers is published in open access, it was already accessed by nearly 500,000 of people around the world. And some of these papers have been already also cited quite many times. We ended up with the papers at the stage where when the vaccines started being rolling around the world. So it was published in ongoing process. So it was not waiting for publication for months. The papers have been published during after reviews during the project. So here I just only want to mention some topics that have been discussed in the papers that we accepted for publication. So, for example, there are papers on the spatial correlations of the infections on the density of the population, on the influence of the COVID-19 pandemic on the built environment and society's resilience to similar challenges that may happen in the future. Also from the transportation perspective, for example, there is a study on the role of the railway in the spread of coronavirus. There is also a study on from the communication work perspective, how the remote work have been spread around the world. And a lot of papers have been evaluating the psychological effect of the COVID-19. For example, how the managers in companies have to decide what to do, how they started perceiving the competitors on the market, for example. Also, the well-being of humans, basically. We also looked at the social distancing, at the role of COVID-19 pandemic for the global design of various products and services that can respond to COVID-19. Also, how the technologies and, for example, loneliness and lifelong learning have been spread around the world due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So that's all that I can say at this stage. So I invite you to check the whole volume. It's available online for free for everyone. And if you have any questions on the topic, then you can contact me at my email or follow me on Twitter. So thank you for your attention and have a good rest of the events and meetings on this conference. Thank you.